be attached to real physical spaces and physical objects. It's my second crypto project and third startup, and and before that I've worked for around 10 years in traditional industry. So I look forward to talking here on the panel. Thanks.
Okay, so we have panelists from a traditional finance background as well as from the crypto side. So in terms of today's topic, how traditional finance can help crypto to gain trust and adoption, I think the first thing we need to realize is that crypto at this moment hasn't been gain widespread trust and adoption in the traditional financial market. So as a first thing, I would like to chat with our fellow panelists is that what are the problems or pain points for crypto that hasn't gained much trust in the financial market and thus resulting in kind of a low adoption? Maybe we can start with Tim from a traditional finance background.
Sure. When the Bitcoin paper came out, a peer-to-peer payment network, we could add there without KYC. And that was a big problem, or still is a big problem for banks. Is every transaction, every customer I have as a bank from a traditional finance, I need to have KYC'd. Nowadays we can see that adoption a lot happening in the crypto exchanges, in my crypto wallets. I must KYC now, sometimes even to the point I need to give my house address and show my electricity bill or something. So that is helping to gain trust. But that is, of course, one point where the traditional finance at first is apprehensive, and especially towards Bitcoin, where I do not need to have any KYC.
Look, I think that first, let's look at what's really happening, right? So first, you've got many of the banks experimenting with various blockchain technologies, developing their own coins for internal use. So to say that it's not adopted, we're not seeing it publicly, but I can tell you that companies like obviously JP Morgan, we know the JP Morgan coin, are experimenting, are actually hiring a lot of blockchain developers. There are a bunch of departments within various banks that are looking into these technologies. They're not planning on staying behind. Unfortunately, what they are doing is they're developing various blockchain and crypto technologies for internal use. So instead of passing the benefits to the wide public, they're looking at how can I leverage that technology to do things better, more efficiently in the bank so I can finally generate more profit for me, not for the users. I think that for the various banking institutions to really get into this space, regulation will have to play a bigger role. We're still waiting for the SEC in the US to make up its mind and give all of us clearer guidelines. I think the biggest financial institutions, from banks all the way to various funds, are also waiting to hear from the SEC. Can I be in this space? Can I play in this space? Can I hold the assets? Can I not hold the assets? You look at us, it took us 6 months to open a bank account in Israel. And in the US today, I can list 5 banks are willing to deal with crypto companies just because the other banks are concerned. They're concerned about their license. And for the big institutions to get into this space, governments will have to speak with far more clarity. And until that happens, for example, will this ETF be approved? Yeah. If the ETF is be approved, you'll see more and more companies, more and more financial institutions, funds, hedge funds, and so on and so forth getting into that space. And I think this will lead to more financial institutions willing to experiment outside their perimeter. But until that happens, we're not going to see mass adoption. And if you ask me, I think that, look, we've discussed Libra here many times today and yesterday. I think nothing is going to, if Libra is the right thing, the wrong thing, is that permission-based, permissionless, we can have that debate. But, I think more than 2 billion people were exposed to crypto the last week like never before. And if we like Facebook or don't like Facebook, we want to take that company to bring the awareness. What we're going to do with it moving forward, it's up to us.
Do you think the Bitcoin ETF will be approved this year?
If I know the answer, I'll be a billionaire. I don't know. Nobody does.
So I'll just keep it very short and straight to the point. I think
you're saying that I spoke for too long?
Daniel actually touched base on most of the points, so I just want to keep it short. Like, I think the trust factor is very important. Like, I keep my money in a bank, I know it's safe, you know. So nobody, if something goes wrong, I still have I hope to get it back. But people ask me, like, okay, with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrencies, do I get it back? Like, you know, I have people reaching out to me asking, I want to know more about Bitcoin. Like, they know Bitcoin, they know other than any other cryptocurrencies. So what if I buy the Bitcoin from you and store it in a bank, like they just call it a bank, and is there a guarantee that, you know, it's going to stay safe? I'm not going to get hacked and everything. So I think to bring that trust within the masses, we're talking about the masses, the people like you and me over here, there has to be a central governance. Okay, as we trust US dollars, as we, you know, we all know that obviously the central governing authority is there, reserves are there, we trust them. I think for the trust, regulation is very important. That's what my belief is. Yeah. Thanks.
I mean, just to reiterate, obviously regulation is required, but as we have seen in many other technologies, right, not just blockchain, regulation is a couple of years behind the new technology, and that's actually for a very good reason, because there is not enough work has been done to understand a technology to regulate in the first hand. So I think it's actually okay, and ultimately regulation will catch up. And banks obviously cannot do anything which is not regulated, because then it's per se illegal. The second is education a little bit, right? Because although accounts, Bitcoin holders like cannot be KYC'd, but accounts can be KYC'd, and public chains are not exactly anonymous. They're pseudo-anonymous. They can be traced back, and so I think with the right infrastructure and right knowledge, regulation will catch up. But until that regulation doesn't happen and that education doesn't happen, that's really the key point, because people trust banks with their money more than anything else.
I think we have 4 moving elements there. It's like, one is the customer. Who does the customer trust the money to? And nowadays, young people, they trust Google, Amazon, and so on more than the bank. We have the banks themselves. They are getting appetite, as you said, to foster their own profits. Then we have the crypto industry itself, now KYCing on wallets and so on moving. But then also the regulator itself is moving, or has to move. So I was on another conference and they were asking, will we have in 10 years still banks there? Or will they change? And the answer was like, yeah, probably if you're a teller, maybe you're not there anymore. But the bank as an institution will be there. But then the question follow-up was, will the central banks still be there? And this is an interesting one, because the central banks also, they see the need to move or build capacity. Here in Asia, we had several warnings against crypto and payments with crypto. Foremost, it's done from the central bank because they are afraid. And in Myanmar, for instance, they have a saying, if you say no, you cannot die. So better say no, instead of giving your yes to something and then in the end it haunts you back. So they do not have the capability also to manage this whole new digital payments world and crypto world and cryptocurrencies. So they need to move on and also build capacity within the regulator space.
Okay, so like the pain points in crypto is, as I agree with all our panelists, is on the lack of KYC and lack of regulatory clarity, especially from the US SEC on the Bitcoin ETF. So moving on to like another core financial application will be in the payments. So like recently, the Australia Central Bank claimed that crypto and Bitcoin are far from mainstream as a means of payment method. So under these circumstances, like what do you guys think are the main catalysts for the crypto to become mainstream as a payment method? Will it be like at the time when Bitcoin is much more scalable to eligible for fast payments, or will it be like Bitcoin ETF, the first Bitcoin ETF will be approved, or like proper regulation is in place for coins like Facebook Libra coin, or any other reasons that you think will drive crypto in mass adoption in the financial markets?
So look, I think that a lot of people, and we have a service that would allow people to transfer coins very easily, almost as just Venmo in the United States. You can just Venmo people money. With us, we also developed something very similar. And what we're seeing as the issue, what stops people from adopting it, is that they don't feel that these various cryptocurrencies are a good store of value just yet. We've seen the increase so far, and it's nice the last few weeks, but let's remember we're just coming out of a massive nuclear winter with this. And I think that until people feel comfortable that when I transfer $1, right, you actually get $1 and not 76 cents the following day, until that happens and we're seeing less volatility and much better store of value, we're going to see more and more of these payments, cross payments being adopted. And I think that going back to Libra, and with Libra basically building a form of a stable coin that is backed not by one currency but with a basket of currency, I think that would give people the comfort level, the trust that my colleague here talked about, to use that that technology, calibrate their wallet far more than other currencies. Again, when you look at why the SEC hasn't approved ETF, is because they are very worried still about manipulation, right? Price manipulation. Until that happens, if that subsides significantly, ETF will not be approved. So we all, as an industry, have to work together to get to a point that we're seeing far less price manipulation. We all need to get to a point that we help Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies become better store of value, better method of acceptance with other businesses. And I think when that happens, you'll see mass adoption on wide scale.
There was a US reporter, and she tried to live 1 week only on crypto. I think it was Bitcoin. And in the end, after the week, yes, she could manage her life. She could buy a bus ticket, a metro ticket. She found finally a French restaurant accepting Bitcoin, so she could find food. But in the end, she calculated after 1 week, she paid 40% more than she would have done with dollar. So the volatility is killing it. What is very great with crypto, and especially in the cross-border payment system, is the QR code. This is something, in Thailand, we all know the prompt pay, where I can transfer from one bank to another without cost within seconds. So this driving a huge user adoption and is actually killing the profits of the banks, but enforced by the BOT, Bank of Thailand, so that everyone had to adopt. And there I see something, QR code payments, we are knowledgeable about that in the crypto space. So that will be a big thing. If we can QR code fiat currency with crypto, awesome stuff.
It still doesn't solve the volatility though.
True.
So what are the obstacles for the merchants to adopt crypto nowadays, apart from the lack of regulatory clarity?
Cost.
At the end of the day, I want to get rid of all the crypto, and I want to have the fiat currency, because that I have to put on my balance sheet. So there needs to be like an institutional sector who's buying all this crypto from me. So also, if I look at money exchanges, I talk to them. They are willing now here in Thailand, because it's a digital economy and the BOT welcomes that, is to put even Bitcoin on their sheet of thousands of currencies. But at the end of the day, even the money exchanger, he asked me as Everex or as another company saying, please, can you buy that at the end of the day from me? I do not want to carry that volatility.
So Malindra, you're from the WebXR. So in terms of the user experience perspective on crypto, so what are the things that the user experience can be enhanced in order for more users to use crypto as mainstream?
The user experience, the UX, UI is obviously super important. I think we somehow have a sort of a blueprint for that with what WeChat and Alipay has already done in China. So some sort of a UX that's as easy as that, so that my mom can also use it. You can select it from your contact list, and just you don't have to worry about her receiving the money, and you can read how much dollar or rupee value that is, and potentially less volatile. But user experience, sending it someone just off your phone without worrying about private keys and managing all of that, is definitely key. And I think we are still already on a right path with all the usage of QR codes. And then to be a good transfer of value, not just a store of value, it means that merchants have to start accepting as well. So more and more merchants, whether they're shops, potentially street vendors. I mean, if WeChat start accepting Bitcoin, we're done, right? All of them across China will start accepting. If Amazon start accepting Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, so we need on both sides, the UX on the user side as well as the merchants to be able to accept that, and then potentially a banking partner for convert to the fiat, like you were saying. Everybody wants the fiat in the end. They have to pay off their own suppliers and everybody else. So I think that's kind of the three layers. If we can pass through, it'll still start with the user experience, because as long as the user is not comfortable using it, merchants won't have that motivation to go all the way through to make it happen.
So, like, what kind of educational efforts needs to be done to get the merchants on board to use crypto, or like the normal like buyers that they will be willing to pay in crypto instead of fiat?
I think instead if we can think of, if there is a way that crypto can almost be invisible, it's there, but it doesn't. That you don't even worry about which cryptocurrency necessarily it is. You just see, okay, this is a bunch of symbols and names, and these are the numbers I have in my currency, I understand, and you can send them too. So some amount of education is required for the user, but ideally the best UX is the UX where you do not need an education, at least for the user point of view. And then on the back-end side, obviously, that is where I think more education required at the government level on how to deal with the anonymity or pseudo-anonymity of cryptocurrencies, and on merchant level, how to deal with that, how to hedge the risk, how if big currencies keep taking in their books the cryptocurrency, like they do with various FX, how they deal with all of this. So I think more education required on that side, and on the user side, we should try hard to just take it off take the burden of education away from the end user, and that can be done with great UX, and we are already seeing some great examples for that.
I totally agree. You must make blockchain invisible, actually. Everex is running a pilot right now where we transfer for migrant workers, Myanmar migrant workers in Thailand, cross-border remittance to Myanmar. Those are migrant workers. They work in a factory 8 hours a day. So when they finish work, of course, they cannot go to a bank, convenience factor. They need to have someone coming to the factory at their time to give them e-Thai baht. So we are running a stablecoin, actually, e-Thai baht. There's also no volatility in it. And then we just have a simple send function where they can enter the home address in Myanmar. Because on the other side, there are no crypto wallets in Myanmar. We even don't have bank accounts in Myanmar. So on the other side, there's an email generated to a guy on a motorbike who's starting to bring the cash to the family. So it's from Ethereum crypto wallet, but no one knows that, to the cash delivery at the house door. So that's what we need to do to enable those people to adopt it and to make it happen in Southeast Asia.
Okay, so a little bit extension on the remittance use case that we realized that Facebook Libra coin, like when the news came out, one of the use cases is on remittance. But do you guys think how Facebook can achieve crypto mass trust and mass adoption? Because of the trust issue, like everybody doesn't quite trust Facebook in terms of data protection, like the user's privacy has been breached like quite often. And also like for the mass adoption, do you think its use case will be really like on the remittance that you have mentioned, or maybe it's more likely on like a Facebook marketplace that can drive mass adoption? And the thing is, do you think Facebook coin will ever succeed in the future?
Look, I don't see why not. I mean, unless regulators fight back and try to stop this from spreading, and I know there's going to be a hearing in Congress, in the Senate as well, about Facebook trying to understand what exactly they're trying to do. They are trying basically to create their own central bank. So there are far-reaching implications to the world economy, because let's be honest, Facebook is now granting itself the right to print money, as much money as they want. No central bank can behave like that, even though central banks, by definition, supposed to control the money supply, right? Here you've got an organization, most likely the most powerful company in the world, other than Google, going into the financial markets and try to become a centralized, centralized bank, but also a leading actor in that space. And I think that world governments will have to look into this and try to understand. And I think what Facebook is doing right is by having a conversation, working with regulators, because they understand they will need the regulator on their side for this to be adopted on a mass scale. I think that, look, Facebook with WhatsApp and Instagram has access to what, 2.7 billion people, 2.5 billion people. All they have to do is to flip the switch and make that available. Will people go out there and buy Libra? It remains to be seen. I think their target market, first and foremost, is the unbanked. So they're going to work with third world countries to focus there as much as their efforts in the beginning. And then they will obviously move to develop this into what I believe will become a very strong competitor to Amazon, because at the end of the day, that's where the real money is.
Yeah, I totally agree with Daniel. So basically, if I'm doing my trade, my business, my commerce on Facebook, and I'm also a user on Facebook, if I have one stable coin that moves around, I'm happy. I think, a Libra coin has a future as long as we all have the trust and marked as something to convince the US government. I think that's going to be here. Yeah.
I'm a bit more cautious on that, because I work in frontier markets, and a lot of people barter trade here. They exchange like the tire, and then they get like a packet of tomatoes or a sack of rice. So, and then you tell them, hey, buy Libra. Huh? Libra? Thai baht, you mean? No, not Thai baht, Libra.
Libra.
What is Libra? So, yes, obviously it makes a lot of good, and is helping us from an industry point of view to adopt crypto, or to that people, even the regulators' ability, the Congress ability to discuss with them, that forces them. Now, right, I think like 10 congressmen are studying very heavily what is crypto, to be able to discuss with Mark on that they are not looking funny when they are making the interview with him. But at the same time, it's like down the road, the real adoption, the man from the street buys it. It's much more, I think, for the banked population, where I know I have a Facebook account, I understand digital payments, and I can send 5 Libra to my auntie in Norway. That's easy done. And this is great use case for me. But then those people who are unbanked yet, and first you need to educate them. And then the second step is you need to gain their trust, and you need to make the whole ecosystem work. Facebook has a lot of companies signed up on their platform already. So for them it's easy to think about the economic scheme where they can, I search my Facebook, I go around Sukhumvit Street, and I search for a product, and it's shown to me on my Facebook, you can buy that product only 30 meters from here for a special discount price. And if you buy it with Libra, you get 2% off.
Yeah.
You know what? Everybody is on Facebook. You don't need to be educated to be on Facebook. I'm just saying because my domestic worker is on Facebook as well. Like the whole community is there on Facebook as well. So if Facebook can tap the market, because they already have these people who obviously are not crypto sort of educated, but if that market, which is already in existence, they're actively on Facebook and WhatsApp, I think that would be the best way to go forward. Education, and because the users are already there on Facebook. It's not a bank, it's still unbanked. They don't have a banking facility yet, but yeah. That's what I think.
Do you think the mission for Facebook launching Libra coin is really to reach the unbanked, or is just another way for them to expand their Facebook marketplace to earn money?
I think so.
The latter.
They're obviously a business and they have to do what's best for their business, right?
Of course.
Also, I think it's a key milestone for both cryptocurrency and for just general corporate history, because if Facebook is having a coin, do you think Google is not going to have a coin and they're not setting up a team immediately? They probably have a team, but now they probably expedite, hey, these guys are doing it, we need to do that as well. There's like so whatever happened with mobile and everything else. So we will probably see a whole bunch of corporates releasing off their coin, and that will ultimately bring more mass adoption than anything else, because they have the people to back it up. And money, or whatever you want to call it, at the end of the day is what society accepts as transfer of value, no matter who backs it up. And when we have the force of the major corporates behind them, so I think that's going to change how everybody views cryptocurrency. And regulators will have more pressure to come up with the laws, and faster when you have your main tax-paying corporates doing that. And if they don't put the regulations, they might be losing some taxes. And I think that may ultimately force everybody to, hey, we need to regulate them because we need to tax them. So let's just put everything in place together and let's do it fast to get those revenues.
Yeah, I think Facebook coin is just like the start. So maybe in the future we can see like WeChat coin, Baidu coin in China, because like Facebook coin,
exactly,
they will not be like can be used in
like
China.
Everybody has a
and
brand.
India.
Everybody will have a coin. Most of major companies will.
Yeah,
call
like
it
you know,
coin.
WhatsApp. I can talk to anybody anywhere. Like mine is Dubai. The same if I can transfer my money from Singapore, like where I live, to somebody, my relative in the US, without any transaction fee. That's amazing, right?
Looks like we're all ready to short the dollar.
Beg your pardon?
Are we ready to short the dollar? I mean,
No.
we're not there yet.
Okay. So moving on to another area of aspect is like we knew that JP Morgan and Fidelity start tapping into the crypto market since like last year. Like JP Morgan launched JPM coin early this year, and even like Fidelity, like they already established their digital asset arm last year, and also they launched crypto trading desk. So in this kind of circumstances, like how crypto is transforming the operation of these investment banking giants? Do you have any idea?
I can give an example from Germany right now, where German banks are discussing with a regulator how to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. This is a problem for banks, because they do not know right now, like you mentioned, the taxation is number one, but then also, can I lend for this money? Like you on your platform, Daniel, I think it's amazing. You bring interest and crypto together. This is a major enabler for any banks. Because any fixed assets, I'm as a bank also not interested. I measure my risk in interest. So I need to have some kind of interest on the crypto. These are all issues that can be solved and will be solved eventually, together with regulators, together with banks.
Okay, so for the last area we would like to explore about is like for mass adoption of crypto, it seems that in the traditional financial market we are lacking a killer app in the traditional finance market in order for crypto to go mainstream. So in your opinion, what is your killer app in terms of traditional financial applications, and like which areas of finance can have a high potential to achieve blockchain and crypto mass adoption in the future, the use cases? So,
look, I don't want to talk about Celsius again, but we're one of those companies that is looking to bring to the market a service that we all use every single day. Earning interest, getting a loan, right? That's the type of the killer apps. I think a better financial service for people is exactly what will get people to, and we're seeing it every day. Right, we're seeing people earning less than 1%, as I talked in my presentation, in their bank accounts. What they're doing now, they're buying stable coins, they move it to us, and they earn 10%. right? So, but as we said from the beginning, we need to get people really comfortable with those digital assets for them to take something that is really stable like the dollar and say, well, I'm going to take those dollars, buy stable coins and give them to Celsius. What happens tomorrow if one of those coins is not as valuable as before? We need to build the trust. It's all about a trust game.
Yeah, as easy as to manage the traditional finance.
Exactly.
How about you? What's your...
My two thoughts to that would be, I love the QR code idea. So one QR code for everything. Any fiat, any crypto, and it's very easy to transfer money from one to one. We see all the Southeast Asian markets, they're very fragmented. So we do not see here the same effect like in China with WeChat. There's one rule, there's one app, finish. But here we have I think one time I counted how many mobile money apps we have in Southeast Asia, and it's over 90. How do you bring all these fragmented pieces together? So if I would need to create a killer app, it might even work on a country level differently. Like in Singapore, I can transfer money via phone number. In other countries who are more advanced, Thailand, maybe I can use an email. But in general, everyone loves the convenience. Like what you mentioned before, is my mother need to be able to use it. And this one will be the killer.
Yeah, so as I agree to Tim, as he mentioned, in Singapore we have this killer app, the Pay Now. So everybody can pay everyone 3 steps, and you are you pay your colleague, pay your bills without any transaction fees. So if we can have something similar where we can move money outside the country, then yes, that's where I would say it's amazing.
Yeah. Killer app, obviously, remittance, and beyond that, online shopping. I think we are moving to a world of multiple cryptocurrencies. Companies will have their own coin. They will use it for user acquisition and various things. Ultimately, from a user point of view, he or she will ask, okay, what can I buy with this? And if I'm launching a new company and there's a coin and people know that, okay, I can use this coin to shop, then I think that's the killer app. If we can figure out they can easily shop for things cross-border or locally, that will basically, then they will not care whether it's how regulated or unregulated it is. They will go even the extra mile beyond the UX if it's difficult, if they can shop with their coin. I think shopping is the killer app ultimately for this.
Okay, so we're now all looking for a real killer app in the traditional finance market in the future. It can be the near future. So thank you once again for all the panelists for your great insights in this panel.
Thank you so much.